Good evening, Rowan. It's the 25th of October 2015 and it's just after midnight. And this is going to be my final instalment on your bizarre talk about St Teresa of Avila and Thomas Merton on the 29th of September 2015 at Dedham Parish Church. I bet you're really glad I don't know anything about Thomas Merton. Anyway, I thought I'd show you this evening a picture of when I was received into the Catholic Church. I thought that would cheer you up. So there you are, there's the very moment. And that's my sponsor Martin there with his hand on my shoulder. I first met him at St Michael's Church, so he seemed like a really good person to have as a sponsor. As well as being a very nice man who hasn't tried to screw me or gone around lying about me for decades. Unlike someone else I could mention. Anyway, I thought I'd begin my final episode this evening by telling you the legend of Jimena Blázquez, who was the wife of the mayor of Avila sometime during the Middle Ages. And what happened was, all of the men of Avila were away at battle, and while they were away, the Moors attacked the city. Well, Jimena had been appointed governor of the city in the absence of her husband. So what she did when the Moors attacked the city was that she got all the women together, and they all dressed up in battle gear, and they stood on the city wall holding torches and playing war trumpets and shouting battle cries. And the Moors were so convinced that the city was well defended that they went away without even laying siege. And since that time, women have attended the city council meetings in Avila. So there is a tradition in Avila of strong women and politically active and motivated women, and this was the culture that Teresa was born into. And there is a statue of Jimena Blázquez holding the keys of the city, and it's in Plaza San Miguel, that's St Michael's Place, which is just outside the city walls of Avila and not far from St Joseph's Convent, which was the first foundation of the discalced Carmelites in the entire world. So I want to go on from that to mention a couple of things that you didn't mention about Teresa, and one of those was that she was the first woman to be declared a Doctor of the Universal Church. Now, a Doctor of the Universal Church is a Catholic whose teachings are useful to Christians in any age of the Church. And in all the 2,000 years of Christian history of the Catholic Church, there's only 33 of them, and Teresa's one, and she was the first woman to be declared a Doctor of the Church. And you didn't bother mentioning that. And secondly, she moved in very exalted circles, both in the church and on the political scene in Spain. You only have to look at the letters that she wrote to people, and she wrote to many people who were very influential in the church and in state affairs. She even petitioned the King of Spain, Philip II, on several occasions, and commentators on these letters have commented on how bold she was in not only just in asking the King's assistance, but also that she'd approached him in a particularly bold way, although not one that was inappropriate, so to speak. So you didn't mention that either. What you did say was that she was an irrepressible flirt, which wasn't true. And then you said she had a dramatic love affair when she was a teenager, and that isn't true either. And you know what? I've done some more research into this dramatic love affair, and I have your book here. There it is. You saw all of it yesterday. And I turned to page 46, and guess what it says? What preoccupies Teresa is not so much the memory of risky amorous episodes as such. The text, in any case, makes it quite clear that she was not involved in a seduction or affair. And the emphasis is yours. It's in italics. And then there's an end note there, end note number 5. So I turn to the end notes, which are on page 75. And end note number 5, guess what it says? Victoria Lincoln's apparent interpretation of this episode, Teresa, a Woman, a biography of Teresa of Avila, Albany, New York, 1984, seems to fly in the face of what Teresa actually says, and to underrate the seriousness of such an affair in the climate of Teresa's age and culture. So not only do you state in this book that's allegedly written by you, and I'm agnostic about that, to be honest, but you criticise someone else for saying that she had an affair, and then you go and say that she had an affair. Well, you know what, if you didn't write this book, then the least you could have done was read it, so that you'd at least know what you were supposed to have said before. You're just unbelievable. And this proves my point, that you fantasise about the sexual behaviour of young women, and then you go around spreading those fantasies as if they were facts. That's exactly what I said, and that's what you've done to her, and it's proved beyond any doubt. Young women aren't safe from your fantasy life, even if they've been dead since 1582. You're absolutely incredible. So thanks for proving that for me. This is what I mean about you being so dumb. You think that you underestimate other people. You think that they're not going to catch you out, even when you've allegedly written down the opposite of what you're just saying. And believe me, there's a lot more I could say about that talk that you gave, because I don't know if you've twigged yet, but I'm an expert in this field, and I'm also fluent in Spanish, which I spent 12 years learning from scratch to degree level, at evening classes, while I was working full-time in mental health, and for 6 years of that I was still researching and writing my thesis as well. Anyway, to finish off, I'm going to make a couple more quotations from what you said in that talk. And believe me, I've left things out that I could have said. But anyway, this is really, this is towards the end. And you say this: one reason I love the portrait of her that was made in her own lifetime is that it is so unlike the Bernini sculpture, slightly dumpy, rather quirky, a suppressed smile, and very sharp eyes. She looks out at you and says, don't fantasise about mysticism. Get on with allowing God to come to life in you, which is much more interesting. So you've just made that up, haven't you? Because paintings don't say anything. Teresa actually never uses the term mysticism, not even once. Anyway, in all of her works and her letters, she never uses the word mysticism. Get on with allowing God to come to life in you, which is much more interesting. Well, what on earth does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. And you told us that mysticism is doing the washing up. So are we fantasising about doing the washing up then? You're all over the place. But I'd like to thank you for giving this lecture, because you've been going round telling everybody I'm a delinquent sex maniac and fantasist. So I'd like to thank you for giving this lecture and proving that you're a delinquent sex maniac and fantasist. You're the fantasist. I'm not fantasising about anything. I don't need to fantasise about anything, because I haven't got a terrible history of evil things that I've done that I have to escape from. You have. And you keep on doing them. I've got more to say about that in another video. Anyway, I'm going to make one final quotation from you now. So, you say this. This is, I think, your final statement about Teresa before you move on to Thomas Merton. Someone who lives on the margins and who lives at the centre. Not a bad definition of what a Christian contemplative ought to be. Well, that's just fantastic. That's the definition of what a Christian contemplative ought to be, and it means absolutely nothing whatsoever. I don't know. Anyway, this is my final video about your talk about Teresa on the 29th of September at Dedham Parish Church. But I have got some more to say. I've got a little bit more to say about it, but not about Teresa, and not about Thomas Merton either, just about another aspect of the lecture, shall we say. But you've got that to look forward to. So, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? You never know. But don't forget, I don't go to Mass on Sundays, so I won't be seducing any priests tomorrow, so don't get excited, because I won't even be seeing any. So, I'll just bid you buenas noches, hasta luego.